Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. How are you? Are you alright? I'm alright. I've got a cup of tea here. I've got a nice cup of tea. I've got a bit of a tummy ache still, menstruation. And I'm having a refreshing cucumber, peppermint and spirulina tea. Does anyone know what spirulina is? Because I thought, I don't know what that is, and I looked at the side and it just says spirulina granules, so I feel like it's something I should know about, but I don't. It's very, very settling and enjoyable. I'll come back to that later. Refreshing, some might say. Today I'm going to be talking to you about book clubs. So quite often I have people contacting me saying, how did you find your book club? How did you start your book club? Etc, etc. So I run two book clubs. I run a book club at work in real life where we all meet physically. And that's been running for 6 years this summer. Unbelievably 6 years this summer. And I also run an online book club on Facebook with some of my friends, and that's been running about 2.5 years, which is also impressive. Like, I feel like I remember sending the message out about that, finding out if anyone would be interested, which was amazing. So yeah, I feel like I've run two different types of book clubs. They're both like obviously quite successful. They've been going for many, many years, and I love them. I really, really love both book clubs, and it's a way to chat about books that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do, and it's just super fun and a really nice way to build friendships with each other. So the first thing, I'm going to talk about them as like both book clubs as we go, and sort of maybe give you a few tips, or if you want to join a book club, or if you want to start a book club, then maybe this will help you out. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just be nice to hear me chat about it. So the first thing you're going to need, first of all, if you don't want to run your own book clubs, I am certain that there are plenty of book clubs happening wherever you are. Check out libraries, check out bookshops, check out cafes and things like that. They often have a book club. These are the places that you'll be able to find them. Check out Facebook groups, check out Twitter online and find online book clubs if you want. And I feel like there's going to be plenty there for you to be able to join and to look into. But if you're thinking of starting one yourself, then the first thing you're going to need is people, because you can't have a one-person book club, because that's just you at home reading a book by yourself. So the first thing you're going to need is people. So I will go through the way I found both my sets of people. So at work, I work at a hospital, so it's quite a big community of workers there, and I'd worked in 3 jobs, and throughout those 3 jobs in the hospital I'd met a lot of people who were into reading, and I'd found out through seeing them reading on their lunch, or talking about books, or hearing what they'd read when they were on holiday, etc. And I sent out an email to about 10 people and said, I'm thinking of starting a book club at work. We'll meet once a month, chat about books. Would anyone be interested in joining? And all 10 got back to me and said, I would love to do that. And 2 of them said, I would love to do that. And can I invite my friend? So already I had 12 people, which for an in real life book club, I would say is probably the perfect number. Any more than 12, you start sort of breaking up into little groups, and you can't sort of all keep on track with the book. But saying that, I've had great conversations with big groups, and then also when it's been like the summer holidays and everyone's on holiday and there's only been 3 of us turn up, we've had really, really good chats, in-depth chats about books then as well. So, but for me, 12 is like the perfect number, because there's a lot of people there, a lot of people have different feelings and things like that, so it works really well. So 12 people got back to me. With regards to my online book club, I put out a status on Facebook saying, I'm thinking of starting this online book club. Please like or comment on this status if you'd be interested in joining. It worked, I didn't say, but it worked in a similar way to my online book club, in that we'd meet once a month online in a massive Facebook message where I would ask everyone who'd read the book if they wanted to be involved, and we'd just have a chat about the book. So many people got back to me. It was amazing. The first ever one I did, I think there was like 42 people involved, which was incredible. Again, pretty hard work. The higher the numbers get, the higher it is to keep a hold on these things, especially when we were chatting in a Facebook group and I'd sort of asked a question, and then all it would take was for 3 people to answer, and it would whiz up the page. So that's a big, it's lovely to have that many people involved, but in terms of a Facebook book club, when there's sort of like 10-ish, it works at its very best. So that's how I did that, and a lot of people got back to me and said they'd definitely be interested, and that's how I started that one. So that's how you'd find your people. In terms of a place you will need to meet with people, where I work at a hospital, we use a seminar room once a month, which works out very well. It's got a kitchen there, so we can make teas and things like that. I know that you can meet I know people who have book clubs in people's homes, and they take it in turns to go to different people's homes, in cafes, in libraries, in parks, in community areas. There's just so many places that you could meet, which hopefully will cost you none, if a very little money. There's so many like supermarket cafes and things like that where you could go and buy yourself a cup of tea for a couple of quid and just sit there and things like that. So they're places that I would meet in terms of that. So for my online book club, as I said, we meet online in a Facebook group. So I just always have to make sure that on the day of Facebook book club, which I always know is the last Sunday of the month, at 8 o'clock, I always make sure that I'm somewhere where I've got good Wi-Fi or somewhere, and I always use my laptop, which helps a lot more for typing rather than trying to do it on a little phone. So they're the places that I meet. The next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to stay in touch with your peeps. So at work, I use email, where I email people to say thanks so much for coming. Next month's book is going to be blah blah blah, and we're going to be meeting on this date at this time. In terms of dates, I always try to make them quite memorable memorable dates, in that there's like, so for instance at book club at work, we would meet the first Tuesday of every month, and online book club is the last Sunday of every month, just because they're easy to remember. And I sort of feel like by the end of the month I'm like, oh, it's coming to the end of the month, I'm gonna have to have read my book for online book club, or my book for book club, book club. So I just feel like they're very easily rememberable dates, rather than saying, oh, it's the 16th of this month and it's the 22nd of next month, and oh, I don't know what date we're going to meet in July, we'll find out what holidays we've got, and just always try and make it a set date so that people are able to sort of keep on top of it, and it will just help people out a lot more. So yeah, as I said, you're going to need to be able to stay in touch with people. At work, I use email to email the girls to say this is what we're going to be reading, and this is what we're going to be reading the following month, because another thing you might find is that it's easier to pick out the books a couple of months in advance, because it gives people who use the library, people who borrow books from people, people who look in charity shops for the books, a chance to get hold of the books, rather than just saying, oh, this is the book you've got to have read in 4 weeks, crack on. Because if you've got a Kindle, then yeah, that's really easy. If you live near a really big bookshop where they're going to have it, then that's really easy. If you use Amazon, that's really easy. But if you don't use those ways and you use the library or charity shops, then you're going to need a bit more time to accumulate books. So I always give a little bit more notice. I don't do that in online book club, but on my Facebook, on my book club where I meet with people in real life, I know people's book buying habits. So we've sort of come to a bit of an agreement where we do 2 books in advance. With regards to my Facebook book club, as I said, I just pick them out on the day and let them know. Sometimes if people would message me to say, oh, it's Christmas coming up and my boyfriend wants to buy me some books, and I was just wondering what you've got planned for book club for the next couple of months, and then I can say, oh, these are going to be coming up at some point, etc. So yeah, I stay in touch via email with work people. With my Facebook book club, I use Facebook. I use a status. I normally take a photo of me with the book, or the book in some beautiful setting, normally like on a blanket in my lounge, and say, oh, thanks so much for joining in tonight, guys. Next month we're going to be reading this, and it's a visual, and then people who are on my Facebook can also be like, oh, I wouldn't mind reading that and joining in next time. And I ask people to like or comment if they want to be involved, and I sort of just give them a little nudge as the months go by. Maybe I'll share my own picture or take another photo of the book and say, oh, how's everyone getting on with the book? Looking forward to, just to remind you, it's 2 weeks until book club, and that's just helpful, just to remind people if people haven't picked up the book, or if people have sort of picked it up and thought, oh, I'll get back to that, and then they're like, oh my god, I've only got a week left. It's just easy just to give people a little nudge in the right direction in terms of that as well. So that's how I stay in touch with people. Now the books, how do you pick the books? So my first book club meeting that we went to, that I held at work, we didn't have a book selected, so we all went along and we just spent, it was quite nice actually, because there was a few people who didn't know each other. Now we all know each other very well, but to start with, there was a few people from different departments who'd never met, etc. And we talked about things like what if we like books or Kindles, what our favourite books are, what we read at school, what we're reading right now, what and etc, things like that, which was really nice to get a good feel of like what people enjoy reading, and what our reading habits are, how how many books we read a month, for example, or how many books you read a year, like just nice chat. And then at that point I'd asked everybody to bring with them a book that they thought would be great for discussion, and I would put it in a pot, and then every month we would pull one of those out of the pot. So as I said, there was 12 people there, so we all put a book in the pot, and that was a year's worth of books, which was amazing. And people put a lot of thought into those books as well. They thought about things like books that they'd heard would be really good for discussion, or books that were coming out, or books that had just come out, and we got some really, that first year we read some really, really great books. And nowadays, because we sort of have people who leave the trust or etc., we haven't been able to keep popping books back in. So sometimes I use like bestsellers lists, or for instance the Richard and Judy book club, they always have additional material at the back of the books, which are really great for book club discussions, book club discussions, and any books that have been in the any like award-winning books like the Man Booker or the Baileys or the Costa. I always pop those in there as well. So we just sort of got a pot full of books that have come from all over the place, but a lot of them are new releases just because of the way that I pick the books. But I still always take recommendations. If people say I would love to put this in there, then I would always do that. So that's how I do my pick the books for my book club in real life. My online book club, we started by doing that, but a lot of people found it quite intimidating to be like, to put a book forward. So up until the beginning of this year, we'd been going on sort of like books that that people had told me about, and that sort of ran flat. So what I've been trying to do this year with my online book club, and I feel like it's been working really well, and if you're part of my online book club, then let me know, but I've been trying to read something from different genres. So for instance, we've read a crime, we've read a classic, we've read a graphic novel, we're reading non-fiction at the moment. We've got a book coming up in where we're going to read a book and watch the film. So I'm trying to get like a big broad spectrum, because otherwise there did come a time where we were literally reading like crime book after crime book for about 5 months, and they were all sort of bleeding into each other. And it was like, oh, is that the one where the man killed her, or did she kill the man? And I think there needs to be a sort of differentiation when you're picking books, just to make sure that they're not all the same types of books. So I've tried to do it like that. But that seems to work very well, and if anyone does give, and I often say, if anyone's got a recommendation or anything, let me know, but it doesn't seem to happen so often on online book club. So those are the books that that's the way I pick the books. Now, what I will say is make sure your first book is a great book for discussion. So for instance, so the book that we chatted about in my work book club, the first one we ever did was Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by what's his name? Jonathan Safran Foer, which has also been made into a film, which was a great sort of mixed media. I'd never read anything like it before. Paperback book with loads of like writing that had been scribbled all over, and like random photos inserted and things like that. And it really got us all talking, because a lot of us hadn't read anything like that before. That was great for discussion. And the first book that we talked about in my online book club was Wonder by R.J. Palacio, which still continues to be one of my favourite books. And that was great as well, because it was a real easy read, and so many people joined in, and so many people got different messages from it and things. Excuse me, I need a bit of a tea now. So I would definitely ensure that your first book is great for discussion. Some books that I've read that have been great for discussion: Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, The Hunger Games, we had some great chats about that. Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson, that raised some really good chats as well. Crime thrillers are great for chatting, and great for like shock value really, and people being like, oh my god, and could this be made into a film and things like that. They're really great books to chat about, but as I said, I'd be careful not to get them back to back and just keep on going with them. But there's some great books that I would recommend. The questions that I use, so often I'll sort of like jot down a few things as I'm going through the book, and thinking about questions, and sometimes in the back of books, particularly books that are considered like book club books, they have additional additional book club information at the back, which is super helpful, and you can find questions online. Now, what I will link below is a website called Lit Lovers, which has some generic questions for book clubs, which I find really, really helpful if I'm struggling to come up with questions, and they're to do with like the experience of how you read it, and did you become engaged with it instantly, and what characters did you like, and how did you feel they interacted with each other, and just things to get people talking, which would often lead to other discussions. So yeah, I think that's it. Oh, one more thing, additional. So my book club in real life, we've also got a cake rota. So where we meet at work, we take it in turns to bring in some cake, which is just a sort of like additional bonus thing for coming along to a book club, which is really, really fun. And it's just nice to have that sort of extra thing. And just as something else, at Christmas, I always try and involve a Christmas book as well. So you can do it seasonally. So for example, you could do like a scary book at Halloween, which I've tried doing before, or a romance book at Valentine's, and as I said, a Christmas book at Christmas. It's just an extra sort of like dimension of enjoyment. But that's it for me. That's how that's my book club chat. I hope it's been helpful to some of you. Perfect temperature now, guys. I hope it's been helpful to some of you. Let me know how long you've been in book clubs for. What have been some of your favourite book club discussions? Books that you've read at book club that have had great discussions, books that you found through book clubs. I would love to hear all your book club stories, and I will see you all again soon for another BookTube video.